Hello everybody and welcome back to DBD North America. My name is MetalBro, but you can all call me Rob, and today we are going to be analyzing a game between Leviticus and Glacial. And right now we have Leviticus on the killer side with Slaughter representing Leviticus, and on the survivor side we have Glacial, which is going to be Covet, Bubble, Battlestar, and Abstract. And with Ghoul sets, how they typically will start off is either one of two different ways. We either find our first survivor and we just play for them until we're able to get them down and hooked, play for pain resonance, etc., whatnot. Or some killer players, actually with Ghoul, since the injury is super easy on this killer, will actually spread some damage early on before committing to somebody, kind of like a plague set. When plague sets, usually like survivors will stealth pretty hardcore, and wait until something like big happens, the killer commits to something specific before we actually like get any real gen progress. And it looks like this killer is going to be going for the traditional, just find your first survivor and play for them kind of play style. Now, if you take a look and see over at Covet on the survivor UI there, they've been on a gen for quite some time. A lot of free gen progress. And if that gets uninterrupted, that gen progress is massive for the survivors. First chase being found right now with 50% progress on a gen already is humongous for the survivor side. That is a ton of free gen progress, especially in the early game, when you often like will find your 3 gen and want to identify it and break it, right? But with a Ghoul is a very high mobility killer, very mobile, able to get around the map quite a bit. So oftentimes gens do get pressured very hardcore. Right now, that gen is getting progressed for basically free. Now, another thing I want to mention here is that Bubble came in and took a hit pretty early on. And you'll see why in a little bit, but I can talk about it now because it will be a bit of an interesting topic here, as it's a strange perk choice, but I do kind of like it in this scenario, as they're making it work very well. That is going to be Medal of Man making an appearance here later in the game. Now, one thing I want to mention here is 50-50s. As we just saw, Abstract played a lot of 50-50s at this tile here. That's kind of all they had to work with at some moment in the chase. But 50-50s are kind of they're a gamble, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to play it safe enough to not die, which is why they're called 50-50s, right? They are not in the tile. Playing that tile is not in like a guaranteed safe loop, essentially. We are going to find another survivor here who is Covet, and we get a pretty free tag there. We don't get the bite, so no enraged mode off of that. We are going to go and leave that as this survivor does make main building, but there's a lot of gen pressure on the map. Another gen actually is about to pop here shortly, which is pretty big for the Glacial survivors here. It looks like right now Slaughter does want to kind of spread some damage here. We do get a few different injuries on the map, and we also find our tunnel out as well, which is pretty big. And as you can see, we also have Bubble, who's here taking another injury for our tunnel out Abstract, which is pretty good. And if you're going to get Medal of Man up, you definitely want to be aggressive with that. Now, following up, we are still chasing our tunnel out, and we are going to go and take the bite. I don't think it was intentional. Ghoul's bite is still auto aim, so sometimes it will kind of direct you to something you're not intending to do. Do make a pretty good resource. Taking the chase over to main building. Now, this is where I'll say things, this is kind of a bit of a mistake here, because on the survivor side anyways, because main building is being progressed. It's got a lot of progress, like around 75%, maybe 80%. It's very close to being done. And this is now Slaughter recognizing, okay, this is going to be a very high traffic area in the next few minutes for sure. So I'm going to play around here. I'm going to force Abstract to play in this area and maybe catch someone off guard if they're trying to work this gen, because I'm not going to let it happen for free. Bubble coming in one more time to get another Medal of Man stack. Now, I will say, I don't think that a third Medal of Man stack was obtained because of the bite. The bite is not like a threat to down the survivor. It's just a threat to like injure the survivor. So I don't think that actually gave a Medal of Man stack, because We can actually come in for a 4th time, I believe, before Metal of Man gets activated. But yeah, this is what we're talking about right here not too long ago. Where I thought this was kind of a mistake from the survivor side, from Glacial here, where we were kind of like taking our chase around main building, which is a very high traffic spot right now. And we're getting a few downs in this area. Now, luckily for the Glacial survivors, well, not luckily, this is well planned on their part. They do get the unhook right as bubble goes down, so it's not like more than one survivor like out of the count at one time, which is good for them. But now all 4 survivors are injured, which is a very good position here for Slaughter. He can make something happen with this. Ghoul is very good with slugging, so can definitely make something happen with this. He is going to take the chase onto Covet once again. And something I want to mention again, 50-50s, not always the best thing to play if you're trying to have a long chase. Something I will mention is that I noticed that both Abstract and Covet had this same issue, playing 50-50s. Not a single vault until they were within M1 range. Sometimes 50-50s involves sending the vault as well, not just faking the vault. And I think Slaughter is catching on to that and recognizing that that's the gameplay they're going with when it comes to 50-50s. So you got to be careful with that. Play your 50-50s a little bit more, like, a little bit less predictably. We are going to find another generator with high progress. And again, this is just a facet of Ghoul being so highly mobile. We're going to pull and come right back to hook. Covet is our new tunnel out, as we've decided to abandon Abstract. And instead decide to go for Covet, who is now Death Hook. So this next chase definitely needs to be a good one. Bubble comes in for another hit tank. We do drop the pellet onto Bubble as well. So, unfortunate. And then there's going to be Metal of Man making its appearance there. Now, the thing that sucks about this is that we kind of didn't make a whole lot of distance with our Metal of Man. And especially because now Slaughter has decided to take the down. And that down right there, because it didn't take very long, Covet's still in this corner. So not a whole lot of distance made from that, and we're going to be dying in this corner, basically. We do force locker, which is good, but that basically secured the death of Covet there. They probably could have played a little bit more into their chase if they were able to make some more tiles, but that was basically a secure of the tunnel out there. Another thing I'll mention that is really big for the killer here is their perk choice of Agitation. Agitation is a really, really good killer perk. It is very simple in what it does. It just lets you carry 18% faster, but that comes with more perks than I think people actually recognize. 18% movement speed while carrying, like an extra 18%, is pretty big, because that means that, yes, you carry survivors faster, but that also in turn means that you carry survivors further as well. So you can kind of guarantee basically where you want to position your hook at. You can make a pain res much easier now. You can hook them in your gen spread much easier now. You can basically secure a hook in any part of the map that you want, for the most part. If the survivors play it really well and they die like full edge map in the appropriate death spot, then yeah, you can kind of dial that back a little bit. But the killer can make a lot more hooks than they would normally be able to without Agitation. So we are going to be on our chase with Bubble. Now, unfortunate thing here is we do drop the resource after being tagged. Taking the BT hit there, you're safe. You're not going to go down. The only threat to you now is that you have to spend a little bit of time mending. So it's better just to keep a resource than to waste one. I don't believe that their BT timer was out yet. They still had a little bit of time to go. So it's better just to kind of let your BT protect you for the time that it does, and then drop a resource when you actually need to. So right now we're at 1 gen remaining, and we are in our 3v1. There's a few hooks on the board. Looks like we got about 5 stage 3 fresh at the moment. We know when someone's lurking in this area. I believe it's Abstract, who's got a really, really good stealth position here. Very, very good stealth position. And in the meanwhile as well, Battlestar and Bubble are both taking time resetting at the moment, so they're getting a lot of free time to reset. And this means that Slaughter is finding absolutely nothing to do with their time right now. And something I will mention about this, the choice to reset here is a very, very good one, because entering a 3v1 with multiple injuries on the board makes it so much easier for the killer to slug. Slugging in the 3v1 generates a lot of pressure, especially on a highly mobile killer like Blight, Ghoul, Nurse, Dark Lord, etc. So the ability to slug in the 3v1, especially if the survivors kind of let it happen with multiple injuries on the board, it is a very good idea to go ahead and reset here. So now that we have the reset, we can go and start working gens a lot safer now. And then, of course, another very good stealth position here from Abstract. He is not in the basement, but he left scratch marks going down to the basement, and Slaughter is wasting a lot of time checking basement lockers. This, even though I do think that it's completely warranted to check the basement so thoroughly here, because it looked like someone was actually going down to the basement, it was a lot of time wasted for the survivors to actually get on a gen and do something. So now we've kind of identified what 2 gens our survivors want to work. They want to work this gen over here at 4, and then work the other shack gen at 7. So that's kind of the idea that most 3 gens would be ideal to be worked. Is you split the 2 furthest gens. The one at 4 and the one at 7 are the 2 that survivors have decided. I think that's a good idea. And right now we're wasting a lot of time for Abstract to get on the shack gen. And I think that Slaughter has recognized, okay, I kind of need to go and do something else here with my time. I think that checking the gen would have been a better idea. In an area where you kind of have a decently tight 3 gen, you don't want to leave it. I think that this is a bit of a mistake. Slaughter's recognizing it now and deciding to go back to his gen spread. He is starting with 4 for some reason. I think 7 would have been better. He spent a lot of time in this area already, so going back to 7 would be a better idea. Maybe they were trying to get the down just to get Eruption to go off, but I think that not investigating 7 first led to a lot of gen progress here. It's about 70%, which is pretty big. For the survivors, of course, lots of time wasted, and haven't increased the amount of hooks possible right now. So now this means that the survivors are going to want to start working 4 instead, and of course also Slaughter is very, very convinced that there's a survivor in basement right now, which is not the case. Abstract is not down here at all. They are outside of shack again, I believe. A very good stealth spot here from Abstract. I do think that allowing 7 to regress so much before actually leaving to go to 4 is a good idea as well from Slaughter, but the survivors are playing this very well here. So okay, something else I like from Slaughter here is we kind of baited it. We kind of baited going up to 4 to go check the other gen, and came right back to 7, which allowed us to catch Abstract off guard. He sent it straight for the gen, thinking that the Slaughter here was going to go straight back to 4, but that was not the case. So we do get an injury out of that, which was really nice. And now we're going to go right back to 4. And we do see some scratch marks leading all the way up to 2, maybe 1, if they were able to get that far. Not finding a chase worth committing at the moment because they're just leaving too far out of the 3 gen. And now we're just kind of sitting around main, holding a cross, trying to see where survivors are going, where they're coming from, etc., etc. Waiting for them to make a move so that we can kind of catch on to them. So now we see that 4 also has a significant amount of progress. 7 hasn't lost that much. It's still a decent amount of progress. And we're getting a kick on it. That way, the next down we get Eruption to go off on both those gens, losing some decent progress in the meanwhile. Taking an injury, of course, as well. Just making it so that we can kind of easier slug the survivors here. Checking 7 again, I do like this, but now Slaughter needs to make a mental note that 4 is being heavily progressed as well. Both of them are sitting around 50 to 60% progress right now. So Slaughter, I think, is getting a little bit impatient here and wants to commit for a down onto one of our survivors here. Does find Abstract, who honestly, in this situation, you definitely want Battlestar, of course, but at this moment, you also just want to get it down so you can get Eruption to go off. But, man, this allowed the survivors of Glacial to kind of commit 4 and get it to pop. So that was really well played by Glacial. They handled this 3v1 excellently. I think their 4v1 started out a bit rough. It started out really good, and then midway through, it was kind of rough, and then 3v1 was handled very well. So Glacial did this pretty much like perfectly. Baited the killer's attention in like the wrong spots. Led them far away out of the 3-gen if they wanted to commit chase. They took time to heal when they absolutely needed to, and stealthed out when they could. So the survivors of Glacial really played this very well. They also got the pickup here as well. Now we're kind of just wanting to commit for another chase here and get as many stages as possible. Ideally, in this situation, you would want to go for Battlestar. They're worth the most stages. They are a fresh hook survivor, whereas Bubble and Abstract are both only worth 2 stages, as opposed to Battlestar being worth 3 stages. So if you were to hook Abstract here, you'd be up to 7 stages to refresh, but if you were to hook Battlestar here, you would be up to 8 stages for fresh. If they were both to die on hook, that is, just to make that clear. So Battlestar, in this situation, recognizing that that is a potential problem for their result, decides to go and stealth at Shack. Very good idea. They don't want to be anywhere near the gates right now. They want to be hiding and either play for Hatch at Shack or play for one of the gates once it's fully opened. We are going to be camping Abstract out here if the survivors are unable to contest the hook, which will put us at 7 stages to refresh. And I will say, on a Ghoul set, that's a pretty good result, actually. Usually when it comes to Ghoul sets, I would say that stages are not as common as 4Ks. 4Ks are usually a pretty common result. I'd say like 4K1 is usually like the most common result on this set. But we do see stages out of the door on occasion, for sure. It's not uncommon, it's just that 4Ks are more common. Okay, so we are going to load into the second match here. We have Clownfish on the Ghoul versus the survivors of Leviticus. And yeah, 7 stage refresh going to be the tie condition here for Clownfish to meet. So, thought process right now. Definitely want to find a survivor earlier than Slaughter did. And we do. We do find a survivor early. So, we can kind of start spreading our damage pretty early on. Maybe even commit the survivor if we're interested. It looks like Clownfish is indeed interested in committing this chase here. Maybe not. Okay, we're going to go and branch out. We have our power now, so that's at least something to keep in mind. So, we are going to go and find someone working a hill gen here. Might even play for power here in just a moment. And we do get our bite onto Gray, who is the Saga player. Okay, we're playing safe tiles here, as opposed to last match, which we were playing like a lot of 50-50s. We were wasting time with that, though. We are going to go and take a vault over the pallet, but our survivor here, Gray, knows the revault, which is basically when the Ghoul vaults, you're able to kind of break through the collision of the killer and get onto the pallet within the vault prompt range and vault. So it used to be a little bit more skill necessary for the revault because the Ghoul would actually be able to injure you if you were too close to the pallet, similar to Wesker when he vaults the pallet. But these days, it doesn't injure you anymore if you are too close to the pallet. So we are going to go ahead and play this dumpster filler. We do get the injure onto Trance as well. So we are getting a few injuries on board right now, but not really committing anyone in particular, which I think is honestly buying the survivors a bit of time. Trance here is playing the shack pretty well, making a lot of time out of this resource here, and now finally dropping the shack pallet. We do have another pallet here. It's more of a filler pallet, so this one's kind of a 50-50. And yeah, just walking right through it, so that's going to be a down on the Trance. First down coming in. I presume there's a lot of gen progress on the board right now. As you can see, Gray has been injured this entire time. This is the second time that Wee has been injured, I believe. A gen does pop for this first chase, so the survivors of Leviticus are in a pretty good position here in order to really make something happen. Now remember, we did see a gen pop for the first chase in the last match. Covet kind of just stuck a gen as soon as the game started, and we just never interrupted that. But here is another twist. So we got another gen popping here before Pain Resonance, which I believe was not the case last time. So the survivors of Leviticus are a little bit ahead in terms of the timeline of the game here. Alright, so we find someone else as well. Wee was here this entire time, injured, I think waiting for a reset. This is pretty far away. And yeah, Gray is here as well, so they were probably trying to reset. But we get the down before that's able to happen, and another hook as well. Trance, broken right now. Presumably only one thing that can be, well, two things that can be. Either second wind, and it was second wind, but it could have also been clean break if the broken status effect were there for a little bit longer. They're both pretty good reset perks. Second wind, a little bit stronger in my opinion, but also requires you to be coming off hook for it to activate. We are finding a chase here on Gray, who does make it back to the pallet, and that was really nice usage of this pallet as well. Lots of 50-50s, but playing a little bit more safe because we're using an upright pallet instead of a down pallet. We are going to get tagged for that, though, so we're going to make a lot of distance away. We have another resource, and right now, Clownfish isn't really committing to anybody at the moment. He's kind of just playing for fresh stages because he realizes, okay, my win condition is 7 stages for fresh. I kind of just need to spread my damage here and play for what I can. Very nice vault from Gray. Lasting a little bit longer in this chase for sure, which is really nice. Now, I will say, it looks like our killer here has machine learning, which is a very interesting pick. When you kick a generator, and and that gen pops, you become undetectable, and you gain a pretty good amount of haste for, I believe, a minute. So, we have a Ghoul who's moving a little bit faster than normal, and they're completely undetectable, meaning that they're stealthy, and the only way to tell where they are is by your teammates' comms. So if they're good, then it's going to be fine. If they're not, then you're in a load of trouble. Okay, we are finding another chase onto Wee, who is playing this pretty well right now, has live, but does not make it back to the pallet. And that's going to be a pick, securing a 4-stage, 3 fresh right now. We did play for the pallet save, but unfortunately, it was just a fraction of a second too early. So, with that being said, since the pallet save was failed, we are actually going to be pursuing a chase onto our next survivor here, Trance, who is actually going to take an injury for this unhook. Not really a trade, so that's fine. But we do need to last a little bit longer because we are kind of closing in on this win condition here. Coming up to 5 stages, 3 fresh right now. So we're only a couple of stages away, especially now that we're chasing another survivor and getting the down. So 2 downs right now, but all gens pop. So things are actually looking okay for both sides. It can go either way. Really just depends on how our 3v1 goes in the end game. I will say, if Trance dies on hook, that's tie. So the survivors don't really need to worry that much. They're not in risk of losing this match right now. They're just more so going to be seeing a tie condition met here. So I will say both sides played this pretty well. I don't really see any like big mistakes on either side. I do think that the killer player on both sides probably could have done something a little bit differently, especially more so in the first match and the second match. I think the survivors just played it really, really well on the survivor side in the second match. In the first match, I think that the killer player made a bit of a mistake on the killer side. Probably could have guaranteed more stages, but either way, I think overall both sides played it pretty well. Moving on, we have the Dark Lord here. We'll be starting with Glacial on the killer here. And of course, no one is in the lead right now because the first set was tied. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. What are the expectations for a Dark Lord set? Well, I will say Dark Lord is probably what I would consider one of the most versatile, strong killers in the game. He has a a really variable kit here. He has the bat form for a lot of mobility. He has the dog form for a pouncing type of attack, but also some information. And then he also has the vampire form, which is just a lethal hellfire attack. It's kind of like a range attack. So now, seeing that this is on Wretched Shop, this is like the staple map for Dark Lord sets pretty often of the time. Very, very often, this is the map for him. How I would expect to see this go down in most matches is we go around the map and we try to find our first chase. Now, when it comes to like these shorter loops, the dog is perfect for these, like these rock fillers that we're at right here, because you can really hide underneath them, and the survivors have no idea where you're coming from unless they're extending far out of their way to kind of see where you're at, or just reacting to like the sound. I will say, as someone who is who is friends with a like top 50 Hellfire hits Dracula, I'm very aware of quite a few different things when it comes to Dark Lord and how they play, especially with like the dog form and Hellfire. It can be pretty tricky to people who don't play him very often. I know Clownfish does play a lot of Dark Lord, so he is pretty aware of how to play this killer at a high level, I would say. We were able to get a teleport right on top of Gray. Unfortunately, the pounce attack does miss. It was a pretty well lined up attack, though, I will say. But this chase going on for so long right now is buying Leviticus a ton of time on the survivor side, and we're kind of just making a lot of usage out of this right now. All right, really well played. We get the down. One gen does pop, and there's some more gen progress in the background as well. Trance, I believe, is cleansing a totem to get inner strength up in the future. Very strong reset perk. And yeah, this gen progress is just flying right now. This is really good for the survivors of Leviticus, but Dark Lord is a set where things can turn around very quickly. All right, so for like those really good Dark Lord players, I would expect to kind of see us going straight back to hook and playing for this tunnel out. The survivors of Leviticus did pull very fast, but there's a reason why. So I think that there's a bigger threat for pulling too slow than there is of pulling too fast. I think pulling too fast is kind of like the lesser of the two evils here, because if you pull too slow and the Dark Lord is able to go out and get Eruption set up and then come straight back to hook, they can basically just hold Hellfire on the hook and damage both the unhooker and the unhookee and get them into deep wound, and then Dark Lord can very, very, very easily 2-tap the survivor right afterwards. So it's way, way better to unhook very early as opposed to very late. So definitely a good call by our survivors of Leviticus here to pull very early and prevent that kind of situation from unfolding. We are going to get a down onto Slaughter, which it looks like we are playing now for fresh hooks instead of going for a tunnel out, but we could just be postponing that and putting on the back burner for now to just kind of spread some pressure here. That is going to be another Pain Resonance. We do see some pretty significant gen progress here on the board. 2 gens popped, another one about 40%, and then of course some other ones around as well with some progress as well. I will say, Turn Back the Clock, very, very good perk on Dracula. It's not the best regression perk in the game on Dracula, of course, but it works very well with this kit. because you can use it while in bat form, so you can kind of just move around the map and just look at a gen and cause it to regress, and then you're kind of just chilling there. Okay, we do make a pretty good filler here, but of course, very nice, and I mean very nice Hellfire hit here from Clownfish. I will say, like, recognizing what you can and cannot hit as Dracula is going to benefit you very, very much on this killer, especially in a set like this, because Dark Lord thrives on sets like these, on this map specifically. There are quite a few different tiles you can hit over with Hellfire, and then of course the short loops. You can really work with the wolf form very, very well. The tall loops as well, I think, are also very, very good. Something I will mention, when it comes to Dark Lord sets, you very often want to play in wolf form if you intend on playing for M1s. You don't want to play for M1s as vampire form, because you can take advantage of the third-person camera very much, and also the short model that is the wolf form. When you're the vampire form, you can be seen over a lot of loops very, very easily. You're extremely tall, and of course you have the disadvantage of first person as opposed to the wolf form with third person. The rule of thumb that was explained to me by a very good Dark Lord player was that you stay in wolf form at all times unless you intend on going for a Hellfire hit that you can actually hit within the next 10 seconds. That is how it was explained to me by a very, very good Dark Lord player. Alright, we are going to find Gray here and get a pallet out of the way, of course, and play for getting some more resources out of the way, maybe even getting a tag here shortly, which Dark Lord is pretty good at doing. We are going to see another gen pop here shortly. Another tag will come through, so now we're injured in this chase. Oh, a little bit of a mess up here from Gray. I think they just cost themselves a little bit of distance. That might not matter too much. It will, actually. That's going to be the down. I think if they were to recognize that they were going to play for the break, they should have absolutely just sent it to the next resource, and I think they would have actually made it. Now, I mean, Dark Lord is obviously very strong, so, I mean, it's probably only a matter of time until you go down, but of course, making a resource can still improve your odds of surviving in a chase for a little bit. We will be seeing repressed lines from one of the survivors trying to deny pain resonance, which is really smart from them. Tag coming through. This bus can be a bit of a 50-50 if the pallet's dropped, so there's only so long you can last in the chase. And another really good Hellfire as well. Something I will mention about whether or not you can know if a Hellfire will actually hit over an obstacle or not is this general rule of thumb. If the tile you are shooting your Hellfire over is shorter than the average male survivor model, then it should go over. If it is taller than the average survivor model, it will likely not go over. Now, I say likely because there are some resources where that rule doesn't follow exactly. We are going to see a head-on coming through, which, I will say, I find some of the perk choices by some of the survivors here to be a little bit questionable, but if they make it work, then there's no question to it. Run what you think will get you the best results, Head-on is definitely a questionable choice in Dark Lord sets, but of course, I mean, if you can make it work, then make it work, That's going to be another down coming in, so now we're sitting at 6 stages to refresh, which is already kind of climbing up, but with one gen left, Leviticus is playing this pretty well, I'd say. They are not in a position to really get 4K'd at the moment, but one wrong move and things can take a tumble downwards. I will say Clownfish is doing a very good job of spreading pressure around the map. We do get another tag onto Gray, who is one of our Death Hook survivors. We've got a few of those right now, so... Alright, very good bait from Clownfish there. Pretended like he was going to shoot over the side of the tile there, and waited because he knew Gray would actually come back and drop the pallet, and then sent the Hellfire over afterwards. So really well played by Clownfish. Very good Dark Lord player, by the way. I've scrimmed against him myself. Very solid player. That's going to be all 5 gens completed. We do have 7 stages to refresh on the board right now. Ideal person to get the down on right now would be Wee, because he is worth the most stages. Everyone else is worth 1 stage, so you definitely want to go for the survivor with the least amount of hooks on them right now, as they'll get you the most amount of stages in the end game. They will likely be stealthing pretty hardcore. They don't want to be found. Of course, the gate is being opened as well, and it might be everyone out. And of course, the fresh hook is the first survivor out. They do not want to risk giving a higher win gun. Alright, so same as last game, by the way. 7 stages to refresh. So, exact same result as the Ghoul games last time. Found it very interesting. We have Slaughter on the Dark Lord. Now, I can't say I'm too familiar with how Slaughter plays the Dark Lord and how good they are at this killer, but, I'm familiar with some of their killers, and they are pretty good. So I would not be surprised at all if their Dark Lord is also very good. We are going to find a chase onto Bubble here. We do get a tag. When it comes to Dark Lord, these sets usually start off pretty hot. Lots of pressure in the early game, and we get down pretty early on into this match. So things are looking pretty good for Slaughter right now. Getting that down so early is really good. And of course, we also have a hill hook here, and that hook is also a pain resonance hook. So really good for Slaughter. This is like a win-win scenario right here if you play it well. Alright, so remember what we said last time about pulling really early versus Dark Lord when they leave to go set up their eruption around the map. So getting this pull very quickly would be a really good idea here, because that would kind of negate how much pressure the Dark Lord would be able to spread around the map here. And of course also slow down the ability to get the 2-tap on the saved survivor. Alright, but no one's here at the moment, so save is not coming through, which means either they're going to let the survivor go to second, or they're going to play for a save afterwards. I do want to note, Slaughter is kind of holding the Hellfire up a little bit earlier than he has to. This is going to waste a lot of time. We will see a lot more gen progress for this if we just hold it. But we should be seeing like 3 different gens pop for this. It's very good progress right now. So, Slaughter recognizes he has to leave. So, I will say, we did kind of leave a little bit earlier than we probably should have. If someone was actually there and ready to get the pull, they absolutely could have gotten that before Bubble went second there. So it's a bit of a gamble when you leave like a few seconds too early. Very nicely played by Battlestar. We're able to get out of there without a tag. 3 gens on the map right now with a lot of pressure on them. So the survivors of Glacial are in a pretty good spot right now. But of course, Bubble going second there is a little bit risky for the survivor side. Something I will mention when it comes to these Dark Lord sets as well is that For the People is a really common perk pick against Dark Lord. For good reason, too. Because if you're able to get the reset off against Dark Lord, you're in a really good spot. Because Dark Lord usually plays to get the 2-tap right off hook. And if you're not able to do that, because the survivor gets full health, then you are in a pretty good spot. That does require getting the unhook and getting the For the People off way before the Dark Lord is able to get it to come back. So definitely a good idea to play into that very early on. They actually let Bubble die on hook, which I do think is a good decision in this circumstance. Obviously not a great decision for like overall in the game, but you got to think about it, right? Bubble is hooked on a hill hook, and the Dark Lord was defending it very, very hard. So let that time be wasted and hop on gens for their death, basically. Alright, so we've entered this 3v1 with 2 gens left. There's some okay-ish gen pressure on the map, and we're all healthy. We did get some eruption up on the map, but the Dark Lord here, Slaughter, hasn't committed to anybody just yet. We're kind of just going around the map and seeing what we can find, getting eruption set up, and we'll probably start playing for tags soon, because the Dark Lord, I would say, is one of the killers that synergizes the best with slugging, if we're able to. But in order to prevent that, as a really good survivor team, you stay healthy. You start the 3v1 very healthy. Like, you have no injuries on board at all whatsoever. Any injuries you do get, you immediately seek to play for a reset. So we do take an injury onto Covet, who is going to move up the map a little bit towards the top side. We are just going to go ahead and break that immediately, which I think is a good idea. Now you have the Pallet Gym to go back to. And then breaking it, zoning Covet back to the top side of the map where there's no immediately available resources, so this should be a death here pretty shortly. And Covet recognizes that and just takes it to the edge map here. Good idea. But there's some pretty good gen progress on the map right now, so should be seeing a gen pop shortly. This will be the 4th stage here of the map. Of the match, excuse me. We actually see which gen just got pain resonanced. Survivor here left very early, which is really, really good. Fantastic idea, actually. If they get caught out leaving while we're hooking, or even after the hook, that would mean that Slaughter would immediately be able to be in chase, which is really, really bad for the survivors. And that's actually the survivor who got the unhook. As you can see, Battlestar just stuck the gen, and that gen should pop. That was a very well-played kind of movement there from our survivor side of Glacial here. I don't think the Covet will last too much longer. We are going to send it all the way back down to the bottom side edge map. Yeah, we do get the down as well. But this gives the survivors the opportunity to get back on that gen that had a lot of progress topside as well. So this should allow this gen to pop. Otherwise, Slaughter will have to leave this hook pretty far away, and the pull will be pretty much free. We are at 5 stages, so the win condition is encroaching here. It should be attainable by the killer, but it's also looking a lot more favorable for the survivors with how they're playing this right now. Taking the death spots very seriously, which I love to see. Really nice send there from Abstract. We do still have Shack Pallet to use. We're going to go and use it. 5 moves ahead as well. That was a very, very fast drop. And Slaughter has to leave. Really well played. I will mention that Covet is still injured. You definitely want to get the reset onto the survivors here shortly. Dark Lord can shut down a chase extremely fast. So, got to be careful with how you play it. And that's going to be a down. It's not, actually. Even Covet was convinced, though. As you can see, Battlestar actually got off their gen. I'm sure that Covet actually called it and said, hey, I'm going down right now. Get off your gen, so Eruption doesn't show your aura. And in the meanwhile, looks like Battlestar will actually be able to pop that gen here shortly. So the survivors of Glacial here are playing this extraordinarily well. It's actually surprising to me that a down hasn't come in all this time. Slaughter is putting a lot of pressure on the map right now, taking some very good chases, and no down has come in like the past 4 minutes. It's pretty incredible stuff. This down will come in now. Actually, no. We do get a little bit more distance, but that's going to be still a down. Dark Lord is just too strong to allow that to go free. But Very well played by the survivors here. The unfortunate thing is we have basement right here, so if this survivor dies in basement, that will be the win condition secured for slaughter. That'll be 8 stages, 3 fresh. So the survivors kind of need to play this really, really well. Alright, we can see Battlestar is kind of lurking in the area, ready to kind of play for this exit gate, I believe. And then, of course, Covet is lurking in the area, ready to go for a trade. If they can make this work, there is an exit gate like right next to the gate, I believe, so that would be really, really impressive if they can walk out with this, minimizing the amount of stages and securing the win for Glacial would be really impressive. Of course, this is kind of in a position to be a win for Leviticus right now. Like a basement hook against Dark Lord is really, really hard to save from, so would be very impressive to see the save come in. Okay, that's a bit of a throw from Slaughter here. Sending a Hellfire early and missing is not what you want to see. We do get the down onto Covet, who's going to be down in basement. So if we're able to escape, that would be another 7 stage, 3 fresh, which is another tie, another one. The problem here is we've kind of stayed in shack. We didn't really do anything with our 15-second BT. Which is a problem if you're going to make anything happen with that. If you kind of don't really go anywhere with your 15 seconds of BT, you're kind of just dooming yourself there. We do make a little bit of distance here. Abstract is here for the save, to kind of play for a hit tank. Some nice body blocking, and we go right back to shack. I don't agree with this decision whatsoever. You are literally dooming yourself here. 2 of your teammates really played very well to get you out of the situation, and you go down again, and that is really unfortunate. I just think that a lot more distance should have been obtained than what was actually than what actually happened here. EX gate's been open for a little bit. He could have absolutely sent it to the exit gate. Abstract, or I believe Battlestar was still fully healthy at the time. Could have absolutely played for getting the pick on Covet in basement so that they can play for Abstract once again, instead of just playing for Abstract themselves. If you keep your Death Hook survivor in-game and ready to play for the down on a survivor the killer is very interested in killing, then you definitely should prioritize that. Alright, so moving on to Spirit. We have Leviticus. Change your name! I'm kidding. We have Leviticus on the killer, with Slaughter representing Leviticus. And we have Abstract, Covet, Clownfish, and Bubble on Survivor here. Lots of high caliber sets here. Ghoul, Dark Lord, Spirit, Nurse, Blight. I think we're all available in this first round. Alright, we're holding the hill at 9, trying to get a visual on any of the survivors, making a cross over to the non-corrupted side of the map here. We are going to check this gen over at 6 and 5. Not really finding anything just yet, but we do have a hunch someone is over here. Got a little bit of a short phase going, trying to catch anyone out in this area. Still have a bit of a hunch that someone's here. So far, nothing, though. Our survivors are playing this very, very well in the early game. Just stealthing this out very well. So far, nothing to be found yet. And Abstract is on a gen with about 10 to 20% progress, so we are buying a lot of good time here. Back on the hill, gen at 9, trying to see what you can find. I believe that Abstract is on the gen at 3. Now, I'm going to say I disagree with this gen choice. I don't think this is a good gen to start, or even play for, midway through the match. I think this is a gen that you start at the end game. So, when it comes to these Wrecker's Yard sets, the ideal thing to do here, a very nice tag by the way, really, really nice tag by Slaughter. The ideal thing to do here when it comes to the gen spread and how to handle it is you tackle the gens at like between like 4, 7, 10, and 1 first. You go for those gens first. And then you leave Shack alone, and then you have, at the very end, you have your 1 gen remaining, and that'll be like the gens at 9, 3, and then Shack. You split 3 and 9 at the very end game there, and you have the perfect gen split on the map. So far, really nice chase by Abstract. We are buying a pretty good amount of time. And I think that, honestly, Abstract is playing to kind of bait the killer's attention by hopping on 3, more so than actually hop on that gen to pop it. As we can see, like, he did die near 3, so he fully intended to die in this area, which is, honestly, I think that's an interesting decision. We do kind of get the killer's attention from it. We are going to see Pain Resonance coming out as well. Now we're going over to our bottom side of the map, checking like the gens at 6 and 7. We do have a lot of progress on the map. This gen is still regressing from Pain Resonance, and we're trying to find the survivor that's in the area here. We do pop the gen at 9, and again, I think that gen should have been worked last. Same with 3, but it is what it is. We'll play for whatever we can. Another gen did pop over at 10 or 11, somewhere around there. But again, I think that 3 and 9 should be the last 2 gens that are worked. I think you really only start 3 and 9 when you're like at 2 gens left, or you're at 3 gens left with very high progress on another gen. We do get the stun, and in the meanwhile, the unhook comes out in the background as well. And like, if you play your cards right on this set, this is usually like between like 4 and like 7 stages. It's very like low stages. All right, so Wrecker's Yard, the Shack is very central to the map here. Ideal thing to do is to play for your death spot, and of course, and then also play for dropping Shack on your second chase or third chase. Ideally, a survivor should not die before Shack pallet gets dropped. We're doing really well here. We're taking our chase over to 9 right now. And like, I will say, like, there's more than one way to play the Wrecker's Yard sets. But like, what I've realized is like the ideal way to play it is to play for the farthest gens away last. You tackle the more internal gens first, like the gens that are like between 10 and 2, and then of course 8 and 4. And then you leave 3 and 9 alone because those are the furthest gens on the map from each other. We are going to see a lot of gen progress on another gen. I will say, like, we kind of like let this game devolve down to 2 stages with 2 gens left and another gen high progress. I think honestly we could have realized that things were going kind of hard for us in the beginning and played for fresh stages. So we're going to see like another gen's about to pop. This might actually be 2 different gens. It is 2 different gens. Yeah, all 5 gens pop here before we recognize like we need to go for another survivor here and play for fresh stages. This was really well played by the survivor side. I mean, I do kind of disagree with like the way that they did gens, but their gen progress was still really good nonetheless, and they really played it very well. We are going to see a gate being opened pretty quickly. Abstract is off hook, and he can be pretty aggressive up in the killer's face now, especially if like someone else is in Slaughter's line of sights here. Now you could absolutely just let Bubble die on hook here and play with the 5 stages, 2 fresh win con, which is pretty good. I'd say that's a result you would normally see on like high tier teams. Well, like, yeah, like this is well played. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't suspect that anyone's gonna come for the save here. I mean, securing 5 stages too fresh. Like, the thing is, like, if you take a look at these exit gates, right? You have a gate at like 11 and a gate at 3. Obviously, 3 is much closer, but I don't think it's worth the risk to go for this gate. you just kind of take your 3 outs over at 12 and secure your 5-stage 2 fresh win con, which is already really good. Because like no one's even in position to get the save right now, and this survivor's going second. It's not even worth it to save the survivor anymore. 4 stages obviously would be better, but like you're not doing it without potentially sacrificing more stages in the process. Spirit can absolutely 2-tap a survivor, especially if your first tag is an M1, because then she just follows up with M2 and you're dead. So 5 stages too fresh. Survivors, I'm honestly pretty happy that they recognized that it's better just to take what you've already like guaranteed with 5 stages too fresh, rather than risking it all for playing for more. Alright, we are loading in now. We have Bubble on the killer player here for Team Glacial. And we have our Leviticus survivors here, Trance, Gray, Slaughter, and We. And a 5-stage, 2 fresh tie condition here. Going to be a little bit difficult to really play for it, but let's see how our survivors play this. We do have 2 different survivors here at 12. We are going to play for the drop palette and play for a phase. We do swing a little bit too early, but that was still a nice attempt, though, from Bubble, I will say. So one thing about this is that we have found a chase very, very early on, especially considering how long it took us to find our first chase last time. We're going to send an end map. We are going to be seeing a tag here pretty shortly, I believe. One thing I will say, though, by the way, is, first of all, really high gen progress early on. Very, very high early gen progress. We do get our first down, but a gen is already popped. Our survivors have doubled it. Personally, I think it's better to 3-split gens in the early game versus a very high mobility or highly lethal killer. So, like Spirit, I think, honestly, you should be 3-splitting against, but, I mean, a gen pops, you can't really argue with the with the results there. Turn back the clock, getting some value here on the gen at 6, and we're going to be taking a tag here. So, when it comes to this result right now, the survivors have recognized it too, as they pulled pretty early, but Bubble just needs to play for stages. They don't really need to care about going for a tunnel out here. I mean, honestly, Spirit, you're probably not going to see a tunnel out too often, just because it's like, against like good teams, you're pretty much always going to see stages. Really good double back from Trance here, but Bubble caught onto it pretty well, and 50 being played here. But I would say that this is a pretty safe resource. I think it's better just to take the vault if you can check spot this well enough. If you can't, sure, play 50s, but I honestly think you can check spot this tile pretty well and just play for the safe vault. Okay, turn back the clock, coming back in again. We have 2 stages, 2 fresh right now. We just need to play for a few more, and then the win condition can be secured pretty easily. Especially because like Bubble is playing this a lot differently, and rightly so. We are not playing for a tunnel out. I don't think you're going to see it happen between 2 really good teams like this. So, playing for the fresh stages here. Again, I think we just doubled that gen, did we not? I think it's better just to play for 3-splitting gens here. I don't think that doubling that gen was the right move there. But, I mean, to each their own. Again, we can let the results speak for themselves, of course. Nice tag coming out onto Slaughter. We are following up the chase. Not a lot more stages are needed right now. Bubble's playing this pretty well. And here, I believe, I do recall seeing this. Here's where things get very, very unfortunate for Bubble. I think you can already tell what's going to happen here. Slaughter set up for a pallet save. And our teammate, We, came in and delivered. And that's one of the things that Wrecker's Yard is really good for the survivors for. Pallet saves. We do get the down pretty quickly short after, but of course we call right back into the pallet range, and boom, another pallet save. That's the second pallet save, back to back, mind you, and that's where things get really difficult for the killer. I will say it's more often punishing on a killer like Unknown than it is on Spirit, but of course, any killer it's going to be punishing on regardless. We also saw that slaughtered 99 their sprint burst very well, and was able to make more distance with their exhaustion that way. Alright, another down coming through, but now we are at 1 gen left, and this is the 3rd stage on the board. So, it's getting pretty unfortunate for Bubble here. Things are looking pretty tough. We do have Turn Back the Clock and Pain Resonance as well, so those are both getting a lot of value. If we can get Wiggy here, that would be really good for us. We actually get Trance here, which is still really good. We are still closing in on a win condition, so of course, it's not like over for Bubble, but it is looking really close to a potential win for Leviticus. Survivors have taken the time to reset, which is really good. Against Spirit, injuries are really big because you can hear the survivors a lot better. Obviously, when you phase, you no longer see the survivors. You're relying on the survivors' footsteps to serve in the grass, and you're also listening for their footsteps, their injured sounds, their breathing, all sorts of stuff, right? So when it comes to that, if you're injured, you make a ton more noise. You're going to find another chase onto Slaughter, who uses a sprint burst to make a lot of distance away. All the meanwhile, Trance has not been reset, so getting the reset now. But that reset not being indicative of any gen progress there, here or there, whatever, what have you. We do get the down, but again, I'm pretty sure, and we got to be careful here. Maybe we find it, maybe we don't, but it's very likely we have another save coming in. And we do. And that is really unfortunate for Bubble. We're sitting at 4 stages, 3 fresh right now, so if we're not careful, this could result in the win for Leviticus. We do get the down onto Slaughter again, so if we can play for this hook, we will be sitting at 5 stages, 3 fresh. If the kill comes through, that will be the win for Glacial, and we'll be up 1-1. Either way, both teams played this really well again. They both played it very differently, obviously. But either way, the tie condition is now secured. Both teams played it really well in their own ways. The save comes through, and the next down, the next hook, mind you, will be the win for Glacial. Really well played by Trance. Make a lot of distance away. And of course, we also find Gray. The other gate is likely being worked right now, so gotta be really careful with how we proceed here. And we get the down onto Slaughter. Really well played. And we get the pick as well. The Firecracker coming through, not going to land in time, and that's going to be the win secured for Glacial. So, 7 stages, 3 fresh, compared to 5 stages, 3 fresh. So that's going to be up 1-1. Really well played by both sides. They were almost able to heal tick all the way out the gate, but I think they missed, they did not get it in time. So we're moving on to the next set, which is Nurse. This is another set where stages are more often seen than 4Ks. Both killers, I would say, lack the same thing. They both lack map presence, but their 1v1 is both really good. Abstract coming in here. Looking like a bit of a nurse specialist. Having one of these on your team is going to make you a very scary team. We do unfortunately mess up the chain blink, but nurse, their blinks come back very quickly. Playing edge map against nurse is a really good idea, but we do get the down still. Pretty quick down into the map here, but of course, number one thing when playing Survivor against nurse is your death spot. You can see that Gray took the opportunity to die all the way bottom side. I mean, look at that gen spread top side. We have a 4-gen top side. We have one at 10, one at 1, one at main, and one at top mid. So definitely want to die bottom in this instance, so you can prioritize your gen progress top side. So dying all the way bottom forces the nurse here to go far out of the way to take chases. So this is the first set of the night that the big boy perks are allowed, like Deliverance, Decisive Strike, stuff like that. So expect to see those things. And if you see the Obsession in your match when you're playing a set like this, you can expect they're going to be the decisive player. So we are going to unfortunately miss that blink there. Gray just playing for distance here, looks like. Now they're kind of zone edge map 7 here, or edge map 6, excuse me. Down comes through. And one thing here is you're going to see that the Survivor is probably not going to use Decisive Strike here. They do have it, but they're not going to use it here. The reason why is because on this build, it is likely going to be Lithe and DS paired together. Lithe and DS paired together is a very, very good combination of perks. The reason why is because you can kind of use them back to back really well. So, when it comes to Nurse, very, very good chase power, right? Their 1v1 is unmatched in the game, right? Very, very good chase power. So you can kind of just 2-tap someone, even like some of the best players can be 2-tapped by Nurse, by like a pretty decent Nurse. It doesn't even have to be like a very good Nurse. Just be like a decent Nurse and they'll probably end up 2-tapping even like really good players. That's just how strong Nurse is in chase. With that being said, when it comes to Lithe and DS, you likely will see DS used first and then Lithe. The reason why is because you need to make sure that your DS counts. What I mean by that is when you use DS, you don't want to bank on solely the 4-second stun doing anything for you, because it likely won't do anything for you if you're not able to use Lithe right afterwards. Very nice prediction blink there from Abstract. We are going to go ahead and use DS here, I imagine. And use Lithe right afterwards. As you can see, we're going to vault the window there. But this is Nurse right here. So getting away from this is not going to be easy. And boom, 2-tapped. Even with Lithe DS, not going to be able to make it that far up the map. That just shows you how strong Nurse is in 1v1. Very, very strong chase power. We did buy some good time out of it. We did make a better death spot. Top side, now that multiple gens top have been popped, so of course we want to switch our focus to the bottom side now and send our chase top side and die top. We are going to get a pretty quick down onto Slaughter. But now things are looking like it's going to be a bit of a problem for our Survivor team here to do too much of anything. We are starting some gens top side and bottom side, of course. Splitting 2 pretty far gens. And right now, the Nurse is bugged on the spectator camera. It appears that they're sitting right in front of the hook. They are not actually. They are actually interrupting we on the gen here, it looks like. And they should be unbugged here shortly. But, and yeah, there it is. So it usually comes back after like a tag or like a break on a gen or a pallet. Usually takes a little bit for it to kind of unbug itself. Okay, and that's a bit of a mistake there from we. I don't think they would have gone down had they sent it through the pallet instead of around the around the tile. They should have sent it through the pallet there, and they would not have been downed. They would have been pretty well out of chain blink range. But the moment that they kind of sent it around the tile, Abstract was able to chain blink that and get the down. When it comes to competitive DBD and lasting in chase, especially like if you prioritize 1v1s, it's important to know how much distance you have and what that can buy you. Like what kind of resources you can make when it comes to like your typical 1v1 chase. A bit of a mistake there from Abstract, by the way. We didn't hold down our blink long enough to secure the second down, or the second blink, excuse me. But we do still get the down because Nurse is just a very strong killer in chase. And once the blinks come back and you're decently close, then it's going to be only a matter of time until you go down. So again, with that being said, death spots are everything against Nurse. We are going to see a 4th gen come out of the way here. In the meanwhile, Wii is resetting themselves. But this is one of those sets where like stages is usually the common result. Down coming through, only Slaughter is standing here. If they're able to get the save, that'd be fantastic. They might be able to save this game, but Abstract is absolutely looking to shut this down at 1 gen remaining. We do see the save come through. Wii is being slugged on the ground. At this point in the time, it is looking like this is going to be a 4K. I don't really see another gen popping here. This will probably be a 4K1, maybe 4K0, if we can buy enough gen pressure for it, like with another really good chase. But my money is on 4K1 here. So we are blinking all the way back down to where we last down Wii. Full reset came through. And again, this shows you why death spots are so necessary. Slaughter went down pretty quickly once found, but death spot was able to secure them the full reset onto Wii. I will say, something to kind of put you in perspective of like what to kind of expect for the mobility capability when it comes to Nurse, is that if you take a Nurse and you take Trapper, that's a very unfortunate dead hard, by the way. Sent it a little bit too early. If you take a Nurse and Trapper and you have them race from one side of the map to the other, even if Nurse blinks full blink range, Trapper just walking will beat her to the other side of the map. So, Nurse, her power is far better in 1v1 than it is in mobility. There is a way to kind of not only circumvent it necessarily, but ease the strain of how little map presence Nurse has. There's a general rule of thumb when it comes to using your blinks. Use 1 for mobility, 2 for chase. That is the ideal situation when it comes to Nurse. Use 1 to catch up to a survivor, and use 2 to play for your chase. So we are going to be following up on our chase here with Slaughter. Should be the down here shortly. We do fatigue. Not a whole lot of distance bought. 2 blinks are back and dead. But really good death spot here from Slaughter. Should buy the team time to kind of get on a gen. Maybe get 50% out of it. But this will be the death of our survivor here. It's very possible we see another gen pop, but if we have to remember, it's very likely that Abstract will check the right gen. It is possible we see this gen pop, though. And it looks like it's not going to, unfortunately. So yeah, 4K1 secured. Really well played by Abstract here. Very nice attempt from Wii to play for this gen pop. It was probably like 99%. Very unfortunate, but that's going to be the 4K1 secured. Almost got 4K0 with just a shred more time on this gen. All 4 of the pistons are moving. Pop gonna really hammer that in. Yeah, really good nurse set here in terms of Abstract's nurse performance. Leviticus, their survivor performance was pretty solid, but 4K1, really good result for Abstract. Switching over sides though, we have Slaughter coming in on the nurse. It looks like 4K1 going to be the tie condition. 4K0 going to be the win for Glacial. We are finding our first survivor here. Looks like we find Battlestar. Now this is not a terrible chase at all for Slaughter to take. Ideally, the survivor side probably wants Confish to play for the chase here. They are the Obsession, most likely the DS player. Almost, I don't think there's ever really a time where the Obsession is not the DS player when it comes to like Nurse and Blight sets, and any other set where DS is allowed. Usually only those two, but you know, some leagues it varies. This league, it's the balancing dictates that Blight and Nurse are the only ones really seeing Decisive Strike in their games. So if you see the Obsession, it's likely going to be DS. So first gen pops here, making some pretty good headway towards our win condition here. And unfortunate thing about Nurse is that you have to be careful when it comes to sending a blink through a large object that doesn't have any hitboxes in between it, because your blink can get completely swallowed up. That's what just happened there. When it comes to blinking, right, with the Nurse's power, there's a hitbox, a very invisible hitbox that moves throughout the map before you blink, while you're charging it, and that dictates where you're going to land. If that hitbox lands somewhere that there's already another hitbox, including a survivor, including like any other like tile in the game, then it can swallow up your hitbox entirely and cause you to blink to the nearest location where there's no hitbox. Alright, we are chasing Clownfish now, who is our DS player. Going to last in this chase for a little bit longer. No down coming in. Survivors are sitting really nice right now. They have another gen at 1 with very high progress. All survivors are healthy, minus the survivor we just injured, which is Clownfish. We do get the tag through the pallet. Unfortunate for Bubble, but making some good distance down the map here with that as well, so not the worst case scenario. We do get the 2-tap, but this we did make it a little bit down the map, of course, but we do have a hook very close to that very high progress gen. It does look like we're opting to actually. Oh man, that's rough. You kind of see Slaughter kind of like recognize that really sucked. Slaughter wanted to hook at that top mid gen so they can protect the 11 gen and the 1 gen, but unfortunately 11 pops before he's able to make it over there. Meaning that hook is not really useless now, but it's not as good as it once was. It's not as good as it could have been. Unhook gonna come through. Bubble was the Deliverance player, as you can see. So that was also a decently useless hook, unfortunately for Slaughter. So right now, things are going very, very well for Glacial survivors. They are handling this with very, very good care. Tag coming through. We do have at least 1 gen with high progress, possibly another one. Sometimes the spectator doesn't fully show everything. 1 gen looks like it's about ready to pop. The gen over at 1 did pop already. We do get the down onto Battlestar, so that'll be a 3rd hook in the match. But again, the 4K1 is the necessary Tycon here. If Glacial can pop all 5 gens here, that would be humongous for them. do see the gen over here at 6 with a ton of progress. It's about 75%, maybe closer to like 80, 85%. We do go ahead and put down a Pop Goes the Weasel on that gen. Get some nice gen regression. Main has a ton of progress as well. Yeah, things are looking very good for the survivors of Glacial here. They are absolutely looking to pop all 5 gens. Now, I will say, like, from what I've gathered from this is that Slaughter is a really good killer player. He is able to put a lot of pressure up on the map, but sometimes, when it comes to certain scenarios, you need someone who's a bit of a specialist on the killer. Yes, Slaughter is absolutely really good at killer. Definitely, especially like when it comes to like the more standard M1 killers, the more standard the killer, I'm sure Slaughter is absolutely fantastic. But when it comes to like specialty sets where the killer is obviously going to need to be played differently, it might be a bit of a struggle. He obviously Slaughter knows how to play Nurse pretty well, but Abstract, mechanically, very, very good Nurse player. Definitely sunk a lot of thousands of hours onto that killer. And unfortunately, even when it comes to like a player who is like a really good killer player in general, it's just no match, unfortunately, sometimes. But with a player like Slaughter, I imagine they actually win quite a few of their Nurse matches. Like Slaughter's macro seems to be good enough to really carry most of their killer games, I would say. Definitely a very good killer player. But when you have like a specialist on the killer, and you have someone helping them with their macro, or like they have good macro alone, like on their own, like it's usually a really good sign that you're going to be winning a lot, like pretty much all of your sets on that killer. So one more of these gens should be popping. Looks like we have 2 different gens here, one at 2 and then one at 6. And yeah, 2 is going to pop. One of these was going to pop at some point. The survivors split the map really well. Leviticus, I mean, they put up a really good fight here. Absolutely very good fight. But unfortunately, Glacial just in it to win it here. Played this very, very well. Split the map really, really well for themselves. Made it very hard for Slaughter to defend anything. And yeah, 4K0 at the very least secured here. So, oh man, what a disgusting play here from Abstract. But yeah, so what I'll say is that I think that both teams played really well here. Both these teams played absolutely very well. But Glacial coming out on top here. I think just like having a specialist on Nurse was a big, big nail in the coffin for Leviticus. Abstract was just a really solid Nurse player. Leviticus, Survivor side, really, really solid. Their killer side, I mean, Slaughter pretty much played every single killer for all their sets. So, very well played, but Glacial taking the win there. GG's to both teams. This is a fantastic match to analyze and break down for you all at home. I hope you all enjoyed and maybe even learned something. And take care. That'll be DBDNA signing off with MetalBro. Take care. Stay tuned.